Hello, it's Bernadette Janson, the founder and CEO of the School of Renovating. So today I've invited in my partner in crime and husband of 31 years, Stephen, to share his experience of being married to a mad, crazy, addicted renovator. So the reason being that a lot of the women we work with find that their partners are quite reticent about them taking on renovating to improve their financial situation. And I thought it might be interesting to hear Stephen's point of view on what it's like from where he stands. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Very formal, isn't it?
It is. So before we go on, do you want to share a bit about yourself and maybe your day job?
Yeah, okay, all right. Look, I started in the construction industry. I actually initially was an apprentice carpenter. I grew up in Adelaide and worked for one of the major Tier 1 builders at that stage. Moved around to different states with different positions and different jobs. Have for many years been a senior project manager with other project management firms, both in client-side project management and originally with contractors. But that's where most of my experience has been, generally in larger projects, more recently in hospitals and higher education or university buildings. Currently working on a $1 billion project in Western Sydney. So.
Okay, so suffice to say, my jobs pale into insignificance, but that's fine. And so we really started out on the renovation journey together, didn't we? So initially, early in our marriage, we had a shared passion for renovating and property and embarked down a path. But as time went on, I was the one that sort of headed off in the renovating.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we always started by renovating our homes. Every house we've ever lived in, we always renovated. But, you know, as time went by, I tended to probably do them more as a builder would do them and not necessarily look at the strategy, particularly when you're looking at renovating for profit. It is different when it's your own home, but I think there were some things that were almost bordering heritage, you know, preservation rather than straight renovation, and that is not the most economical way to renovate a home. So.
But what's really great is the fact that you've been able to see that and take that on, because that is, you know, like we talk about a lot, that is a big problem with builders, you know, builders who renovate, but even the builders and the tradesmen that we engage, they don't get that often the profit's in what you keep, that it's not an exercise in gutting and, yeah, so it's a specific process to making a profit from renovating.
I mean, it's a balance as well between, you know, and I can see often from the builder's point of view, their approach is just to rip everything out and start from fresh. But it's just a balance between labour and material costs. And I mean, there are some times when, you know, it is more economical to go one way or the other, but it just needs to be looked at. It's often just easier from their point of view just to rip everything out and start again. But as you say, there's a lot of life left in appliances and equipment and, you know, joinery and things like that. That doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, disposed of at, you know, at great cost.
Yeah. So, so this is a bit of an interesting question. So, have you found there's been any perks to being married to a renovator?
Well, there is. Look, certainly the additional income is always handy. It's given us some fantastic family trips that we've been able to share with our kids, which we otherwise wouldn't have had. So certainly as additional income, it's been good. I think it's also good to share the journey. It's been good to do things together, which we've generally done with all of the renovations that we've done. So it is a shared interest. So it's been an interesting things. A lot of which I've learned as well on the way. So it's yeah. So,
okay. Yeah, that's great. And I think also, like I always like to say, a family that renovates together stays together. And from a family point of view, would you agree that it's great to have that sort of interest and focus in the family? That, you know, we've always had a project and
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been able to see also the value in property and what you can do with property. And I mean, and that shared interest is extended through to, like with David becoming an architect and everything else. So it sort of is running a little bit through the family, but I think they all share a common interest and understand what property can do as far as either an income or an asset or whatever the case may be. I think that they're appreciative of what it can do, and they've certainly seen how, whether with joint ventures and other things like that, there's some real opportunities there for for families to work together to help one another.
Yeah, and so we should have mentioned that we have 4 children. Our youngest is 23, and ranging up to Hannah, our eldest, who's just over 30. And so we're currently working our way through them in terms of doing a project with each child to help them get into the property market, or to help them along their way. And that's been really enriching as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it has. I mean, particularly in Sydney, it's very difficult, to sort of either for them to stump up with a deposit or whatever the case may be. They were all earning, they're all working. I've got reasonably, good jobs and able to support a loan, so that sort of to assist them with maybe the deposit and some of the renovation costs. It's a win-win when you can both, we make something out of it, and they certainly make something out of it as well, and it gives them the opportunity to put the deposit down on the next home after they've done a decent renovation.
Yes, and that's certainly been the case. We're on the second one at the moment. With the first one we finished last year with Hannah, and she took off went on with that and took that. She made 100,000 profit, and she added that to her savings with her husband, and they bought their first home with that. And now we're doing one with David, and so his will be on the market fairly shortly.
Yep.
And so same sort of thing. So personally, I know I'm meant to be interviewing you, but personally, I think that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. And I think they certainly appreciate that as well. Yeah.
And it's not coming out of our pocket.
No, that's right. I mean, it's that, you hear a lot of stories of, everyone's sort of saying, oh, well, they're just doing, from the parents' money. Well, it's in actual fact, we actually get something out of it as well. We're not just handing over the money and saying goodbye.
Because we like our avocado smash too, don't we?
We do.
We do. Yeah. So how do you, what are the challenges in being married to someone a wife who comes home from a shopping spree, having, instead of buying shoes, buying properties? So what's that like?
It's pretty interesting. It has its moments. Every now and again, I do get the call that you're about to do something rash, but it's normal. It doesn't happen that often, but it's usually quite well thought out. It's well structured. You do know your market particularly well, particularly in the area of Sydney where we are, and therefore I think it's a very calculated risk. But So I touch wood, with all of the projects in recent years that we've done have certainly come out very favourably, so it's not a risk. Let's put it that way.
Great. Yeah. And so I was wondering then for a minute, do you ever feel like you need to jump in?
No, look, I mean, I know that you're more than competent and capable of doing it yourself in any case, which is comforting. But by the same token, I know that if there is anything you want any help with, you will certainly ask for it as well. So I don't feel like I need to jump in and sort of unnecessarily. I help where I need to help, and we try to do what we can, I think, again, to support one another without treading on one another's toes, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. And what have you loved the most about the renovating journey, our renovating journey?
Look, we've had some really interesting properties. We've done some great jobs, and as I say, also just the opportunities that come out of that. Also the way that we're able to either support, whether it's not just money for us. We've used money for many other causes. We've had particular interests in common where we've raised money, through the renovation with, Hands Across the Water was a great example of what you can do and how you can help others. at minimal cost. We had to put some time into it and a little bit of energy, but at the end of the day, it was a fantastic outcome. We had a lot of support from our team and your students who also kicked in, and that was a great moment and a great experience, and something that we were able to share. And we do live in a lucky country, and we're very lucky in what we do. So I think to be able to share that around with others is also a great benefit from some of the things that we do and some of the projects we've had. So
just for those who don't know, last year we decided to do a renovation for one of the charities we support. So we actually bought an apartment in Surrey Hills, renovated and sold, and gave all the profit to the charity, and that went to the care of children who come from at-risk backgrounds in Thailand. And so in terms of Stephen and I actually organised all the finance and got the property organised, but our friends, our students, our suppliers all jumped in and helped, and so we were able to donate $120,000 to the organisation, $120,000, which I'm told is the biggest donation from a single from an individual in that organisation's history. So that's pretty cool. That's the power of renovating, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. What would you say to the partners of women? Because we know we have a lot of women who believe that renovating and property is their future, and some partners aren't as supportive as you. What would you say to those partners?
I think the important thing is to understand that it's not the risks are managed. All about what you teach and how it's trained is all about educating people to, I suppose, learn from some of the mistakes that we've made, and to de-risk it as much as you can. I mean, there is always risk in property. I think everyone knows that, but it's a case of having trust in in your partner that they're doing a course which is not, is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's something which is a learnt skill, but if done and applied properly, will deliver the results that we've been able to deliver on our projects. And I mean, that's really the promise that we make, and it is really, I'm not saying it's not without risk, of course it is, but by the same token, I think it's just a case of having trust in, that this A course like this can put you on the right road to, some financial either independence or change of circumstances. So I think it's you've got to look at it as education. It's not just, as I say, it's not just a short-term fix.
Yeah. And of course, there are risks in crossing the road.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the only way to avoid risk completely is to not live. But okay, so my last question to you is, if we had our time over again, is there anything that you would do differently, or you would want us to do differently?
Look, generally no. It's interesting with time that we have, in my view, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, we have probably let a lot of really good properties slip through our fingers and we've sold them. And I think if I had my time over, we've been through times when interest rates were up at 22%, and it's very hard in those circumstances to hold on to properties, or we thought at that time. But with the value of hindsight, there was properties we probably should have held. So if I had something, I would have probably preferred to have retained more properties rather than just selling them and letting them slip through your fingers, because certainly over time they would have developed even greater profits.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I think we've covered everything, and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What I should say is thank you for 31 years of putting up with a crazy addicted renovator, but I think we've both loved the journey.
We have, yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching, show this video to your partner and or your husband, and just let them know what they're missing out on. So I'm signing off for now, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.